Hi, folks. Okay, so we're going to get ourselves going here. To kick things off, I'm just going to start with a few little basics. So when we immediately open up Adobe XD, this is the homepage that we're greeted with. So we have some mobile sizes, some desktop web sizes. We do have some social sizes as well, which come in pretty handy, and custom. So what we're going to be working with for this project is mobile, since it is an app, and I've specifically outlined that we're using iPhone 12 Pro, which is 390 by 844. So we can just go ahead and click that, and we get started. So from here, let's just expand that window. So before we really get too far, I do want you guys to perhaps take a look at some kits. So we go File, Get UI Kits, and we go More UI Kits. We're immediately launched to an Adobe website that has a plethora of different options or different kits for you. So these are the files that you would download, kind of like you would download essentially a stock image, open up and you, or a stock vector, and then you would grab different elements from. So that's how these work. From your canvas, you do have access to them. I did put them in the wireframe section under resources. So just to start things off, I would like to show you what those look like. So those are what I put up there are in fact a mobile version, and there is also in fact a web version. So I'm just going to go ahead and or desktop version. I'm going to go ahead and open both of those because I do like to utilize one of the elements in our mobile for, whoops, just take a bit. So this is the desktop version, and then here's our mobile version. So we have a ton of different elements that we can work with here. So we have, gosh, to start things off, we have our UI elements. So this is where we have our color palettes. We have lots of different features and different little bits and pieces here, like a hamburger menu, a plus sign, an arrow. We have some social graphics. So I'm actually just jumping ahead, and I'm just going to go ahead and grab those so we have them in our little back pocket. I do like that little kind of profile shot. It's a bit tough to see in the light there. And last but not least, I do want to kind of snag this color palette. So I'm going to go Command C to copy, and then I'm just going to go right ahead into ours. I'm actually just going to freehand a new window, and we're going to paste those in there. So we have lots of, I'm just going to Command Option or Shift Command G to ungroup. So this is going to what we're going to call, we're just going to kick right into this. We're going to call this the components. So we'll jump into that in a little bit. That's a white one there. So I'm just going to color that so it doesn't get lost. So I'm just going to go ahead now that we've plunked those in there and just show you a little bit of XD. So we have our home window here. We have our design tab, which is where we're going to be doing all of our designing. We have our prototyping, which we will be jumping into at a later time, and then share, which we will again be using at a later time. Down the left-hand side, we have our regular menu. If you hit the letter V, you can get that. We've got all of our shape tools, our text tools, all those are self-explanatory. This is to add artboards. So if we click, you'll see immediately some sizes come up here that we can select. So again, that would be the iPhone 12 Pro Max, or we can go ahead and we can freehand. I freehanded that component section, but again, for the rest, we do want to make sure we just use this size as that's what is outlined for our project. So this is all here under the library section. We have here our layer section. So this will show all of our artboards. And the last but not least is the plugins, which probably won't really need to do too much with immediately or really right now. So for the most part, we'll be using this, this section here. You will see in this section, we have colors. This is where we can outline specific colors for our site. So just like you would create a color palette in any of our programs, that's what's going to go here. Character styles, that's where you can specifically outline font, specific fonts, font sizes that you want to utilize throughout your site. This is a great thing to have. So this way you don't go too crazy with font styles, font sizes. We generally want to stick to about 3 main headline fonts, so which would be called H1, H2, H3, and then perhaps a couple body copy ones. Over to the right-hand side, we don't really get into too many details. There we go, unless we click something. So we do have our basic align tools, Pathfinder, again, components we'll get into, our transform tools, always making sure, especially if we're sizing an object, we locked our aspects. Fixed position, we will review that at our prototyping stage of things. Our colors, so again, these are our fill, a border, a drop shadow if we want, and then anything for blurs or anything like that. Next on this panel, which I do want to go over, which is a big part of this, is our grid. So when you click this main section up here and we click grid, this is what we went over in our lecture. So adhering your design to a grid will be incredibly helpful. So the more columns you have, the more freedom you have for your elements. So a 12 column grid is great. Our widths will say 7, or our gutter width is 7. So that's the space between here. And then our column widths, let's just say, we're going to call these 23. Which gives us quite a wide margin. These numbers can sometimes act a little bit funny. It does take a little bit of time to kind of wiggle with them a bit and really nail them down to where you want. Just going to adjust that a little bit more. Column width. Yeah, I think that works pretty good. I would like this a little bit lower. So again, you can kind of go back and forth playing with those. This is our margin, so the amount of white space. We generally don't want things to hug the edges. I believe in our lecture, the smallest amount was about 16, but it's also not to say you can go more than that. I think 20 is usually pretty good, but again, I do that and I mess everything up. So I'm just gonna kind of leave it alone for a tutorial purpose here today. Again, always layering our artboard. So this is going to be our first screen, which is onboarding. This will be our welcome screen. And that kind of outlines our basics. And